Mario Maker. right now.
What's up? Whoa! Yeah.
Come all the way back. What you dreaming about?
Kitchens for creators.
I do not live with him.
Mama back. Oh my God. I said in tomorrow's school. Oh my God. You only got but 10 days of school left, I think.
We only have one more week left. No, we don't.
You don't get to 24.
Breakers and risk takers.
So.
That's the mark of
Time to poop your
You
head.
have to sleep tonight, so you won't be falling asleep in your test.
If you have good internet, please skip this part.
The car don't run out to the end of May, and I got a $55 car.
Especially is like the last hurrah before everyone goes into hibernation. Eat lots of candy, dress up, hibernate. Inevitably, Halloween always at some creepy things in video games. Let's get started. Top 10 creepy Easter eggs in video games. Doom is a game. I'm glad we got that out of the way. Doom is actually a game series I have a personal history with. I can distinctly recall playing this game on old DOS systems when I was about 6 or 7 years old. Should I have been playing this game when I was 6 or 7 years old? No, definitely not. In fact, I'm pretty sure it gave me nightmares, which is pretty silly by today's standards because this is what the game looks like. Suspend your disbelief for a second and imagine yourself as a kid back in the 90s. This game was actually pretty scary. There were some really horrific monster designs, and don't forget the fact that this was a pretty new game concept for its time. Nobody had done something like this before, so it was an entirely new experience for its time. Back on track, however, there's a lot of good Easter eggs in this game series. One of the creepier and more popular Easter eggs has to come from the Doom 3 series. In it, there is a mirror. Gripping stuff, I know. Later, after the Hellspawn has been released, you want to go back to this bathroom and look into the mirror. You'll find something is a bit off with the mirror this time around. Is there something in my teeth? Capcom games have really gone downhill. What is this 3-puncher game? My favorite creepy Easter egg from the Doom series has to be from Doom 2, though. In the final level titled Icon of Sin, you'll hear a low-pitched grumbling. This is actually John Romero himself telling you that you have to kill him to beat the game. Except, he's not really anywhere to be found. So there was a lot of confusion about this for a long time. Eventually it was found out that in order to see John Romero, you had to actually cheat at the game. By typing in the code ID clip, you would turn on no clipping mode, thus allowing you to go through all the walls. Naturally, you'd want to walk into the Icon of Sin, and those who did were greeted by something pretty disturbing. Because John Romero's head would be on a spike behind the wall. I always thought that that was pretty creepy on its own, but just wait until you hear what he sounds like when he gets hurt. Goes down as one of my favorite God games ever created. I have talked about this game in the past before, so for the sake of sounding redundant, I'm only going to talk about this game a little bit. Black and White 2 is generally a pretty laid-back game. Most of the time you're just kind of kicking back and watching your city evolve on its own. Some people might find that kind of boring, but I find it pretty fun. What I don't find fun, though, is that the game actually data mines your computer for something very specific. And that's kind of important because it plays into the creepy factor. Occasionally, when a citizen of your city dies, sometimes you'll hear a whisper that goes like this. Essentially, it's just telling you that someone died. What it's not telling you is that it actually data mined your computer, and it was looking for your name. So every once in a while, when a citizen of your city dies, it doesn't whisper death. It whispers your name. I tried to make it say my name, but unfortunately I don't think my name was among the choices. It actually has a pretty hefty list of common names that it could potentially say. So imagine yourself playing this game well into the night with the only light being the computer monitor shining onto you. And imagine if the game said your name. That's not my name. Oh, down the hall. Star Fox. Here's a fox. Barrel roll! If there's one thing I figured out about Star Fox, it's that I'm very, very not good at it. In fact, I don't even know how many times I died trying to get this little secret. But speaking of secrets, there happens to be a pretty spooky Easter egg in this game. Go figure. The creepiness factor is highly debatable, but I'm gonna do it anyway. The first step is to pick the third row level progression where you start in Corneria, move on to the asteroid field, and then Fortuna. The objective here is to get to the second level, so beat the first level. I won't let you down, Captain. Okay, here we go, round 2. I got this. Can we fast forward past this? Stage 2. It's an asteroid field. Wait. This is the level where the Easter egg takes place. What you're trying to do is trigger a special event, so keep your eye out for 2 large asteroids. Throughout the stage, you'll pass many, and they're pretty identical, but these 2 are pretty distinct and much bigger. The first one's going to be on the left, and the second one on the right. To trigger the event, shoot the one on the right until it explodes. If you do it correctly, some sort of weird bird-like enemy will spawn and fly towards the screen. Go against your intuition and fly into it. A really strange event will occur, and you'll be teleported out of the level. You're then sent back out to the map screen where some mysterious music will start to play. You're also forcibly sent to an unmarked level, which is later referred to as out of this dimension. You're sent to this really strange level where a lot of random events will occur. The weirdest part has to be the fact that all of the planets and moons seem to have really weird faces. It kind of seems like Star Fox dropped a lot of LSD and decided to go flying, because there's a lot of really weird things that happen. Now, this is kind of the part that I'm thinking is debatable, because the music that's actually playing is pretty campy. It's not necessarily intentionally being creepy. Further debate could be had because you essentially play a slot machine for the second half of this level, so if you like gambling, that's gonna be fun. But I think the creepiest part of this is that there is one final realization to be had. What you have to do is basically play the slot machines until you die or get 777. After you get that, letters spell out the end. From then on out, you're endlessly flying through space. There is no real end to the game. Even before the level starts, the text is indicating that Star Fox is gone. The implications of this point to the idea that Star Fox is eternally lost. You either fly endlessly or die. And there's something a little unsettling about that. Five Nights at Freddy's is not typically the type of game I would play. I don't generally like horror games. But if you don't know what it is by now, it's a game that takes place in a Chuck E. Cheese-esque restaurant. You're the nighttime security, but there is a twist. The animatronic animals get up and walk around, and if they catch you, you die. So it's your job to conserve power and use it only when necessary to keep yourself alive. As much as I enjoy the dichotomy between this and other horror games, namely the fact that you are stuck in the same area instead of having to move around yourself, that doesn't change the fact that this game is actually pretty creepy, albeit a bit short. Plus, there's a pretty spooky Easter egg in this game if you know where to look. It's quite an easy Easter egg to trigger. In fact, you might have already seen it. It is, however, most common on the first night. So start up a new game and start playing on the first night. If you go to room 2B in the bottom left, you'll see a poster of Freddy. It looks like an ordinary poster, but it actually has a dark secret. Occasionally, if you go to this room, Freddy will have changed to a golden Freddy with no eyes and a creepy smile. And you'll hear this laugh. I think the creepiest part is the moment you bring down your camera. I find the most impressionable part of this Easter egg to be the fact that it crashes your game completely, leaving you silently on your desktop, pondering what happened. Sonic the Hedgehog is probably the last place you'd go looking for creepy Easter eggs. Well, unless you're playing Sonic.exe. What is happening? Sonic, is that you? This place is really creepy, man. However creepy that is, it is supposed to be creepy because it is based off of creepypasta, and I've now said creepy way too many times. But what about when it comes to real Sonic games? Is there any slightly scary things in those? Well, yeah. In Sonic CD, if you go to the time attack mode and play the special stages and get a cumulative time under 4 minutes, you'll actually unlock the sound test mode. There's actually a lot of secrets in these sound test settings if you put in the proper combinations. Putting in 1211 will get you a secret screen cap saying, "See you in the next game," with a picture of Tails. Attempting 421 gets you this Sonic still that's very reminiscent of something Batman-ish. You can also get this cute still of Sonic by inputting the numbers 11-9. 32 and 8 will net you this screen cap that appears to be an unfinished level design concept. You can also unlock this special stage where you play as Tails. Aw, yeah, Tails, baby! It's really hard to control, though. Also, Dr. Eggman is watching you. That's weird. if you were adamant enough, you would eventually stumble onto 1225. You'll get this really spooky still of a Sonic that's repeating with a deformed face. There's also a Japanese message, and when translated, only adds to how spooky this really is. The translation reads, Infinite Fun, Sega Enterprises. Image by Majin, which, if you research this Japanese term, stands for devil, which means this screen cap is signed by the devil himself. Now, obviously, this is a hoax that the Sonic developers put in the game, but try to imagine yourself as a kid once again and stumbling upon this. It's spoopy. The Grand Theft Auto series has always had a bunch of Easter eggs. As somewhat of a comedic series, it tends to parody real-life situations a lot, like the fact that it incorporates Bigfoot in its games, or even aliens. With all those Easter eggs, there's bound to be a few spooky ones out there. Like in Grand Theft Auto 4, you can actually see the heart of the city, which is represented by a real heart that's chained up. As creepy as that could potentially be, I think the most disturbing Easter egg is actually the ghost Easter egg from Grand Theft Auto 5. The tone and feel of this one is just a little bit darker. So it's time to grab a plane and fly over to the northeastern side of Los Santos. In my experience, it's always best to do these types of things in style. Alright, we're here. Step 1, don't get mauled by a cougar. Step 2, go back. Step 3, parachuting. We did it! Ow. Now that we're here, this is actually the part of the map that you're looking for. It's in the northeastern section of Los Santos, and it's called Mount Gordo. This right here is the bend in the path that you're looking for. This event is only triggered at 11 o'clock at night, so it looks like I've got some time to kill. Step 4, murder! Once the clock strikes 11, look at this cliffside facing the coastline. If you're there at the proper time, you'll find an image of a ghost hovering over the cliffside. The closer you get, the more she disappears, but you can always see her through the scope on your sniper rifle. There also happens to be a name that appears in blood on the cliffside, and the name appears to be Jock. There's also a page on the in-game internet referencing this quote-unquote accident. In it, you can actually see that the victim's husband's name was Jock, subtly referencing that she was killed by her husband. And this just so happens to be the same Jock that is running for governor. Psychonauts has to be one of the best games I've never played. Well, that is until now. I didn't really know what I was missing out on. It's a really quirky, silly, and unique game where you collect a lot of things and shoot lasers with your mind. Pew! Nothing can stop my psychic reign of terror. I'm stuck. The story's actually pretty great, starting you off at a boot camp where you'll train in your psychic abilities. The way you do this, however, is by going into the minds of your instructors, creating this almost dreamlike alternate dimension where you run around and solve puzzles. When you're exploring the minds of other people, you can collect certain things, like baggage. Most importantly, for this Easter egg, you can break into certain vaults that contain memories. Once you bust them open, the memories are presented to you in this really cutesy style that's supposed to invest you emotionally by showing you a slideshow. The memories themselves serve as backdrop for the characters. They can be really sad stories, or they can be really happy stories. A little ways into the game, you'll find yourself talking to Agent Mila Vidello. It's her job to teach you the psychic technique Levitate, and she does so by bringing you into her mind. At about the halfway point, the level starts to get a lot more vertical. And if you're paying close attention, you can see that there's this room off to the side. Once you're there, go into this side room and break into this chest.
Definitely don't want to go in there. That's a party killer right there.
Some people have pretty terrible memories that they lock away, even in real life, and this happens to be one of Mila's. So naturally, let's jump inside. Creepy aesthetics aside, you can find out that this is not actually just a nightmare. Right before you jump down into the chest, you can find a locked memory vault. Inside is a slideshow titled Mila's Children, in which it implies that Mila was a caretaker at an orphanage. However, it seems to take a turn for the worse as the orphanage burns to the ground and shows Mila being tormented by the memories of burning children. And things now make a little bit more sense. changed, I can barely figure anything out, and I'd probably want to start over. Regardless, I think this game tops the best MMO list for me. And the best part is, there's some pretty creepy stuff in this game. One of the more interesting Easter eggs is that you can hear remnants of the past while traveling through Undercity. At really specific points, if you turn up your ambient volume, you can hear Arthas' return. The first part being the bells. Next, you can hear the crowd cheering for his return. And finally, you can hear the last conversation he had with his father before killing him. That's really cool is this unfinished section of the game called Karazhan Crypts that people have glitched their way into. In it, you can see piles of bones almost as high as the ceiling, and if you decide to swim underwater, you'll see tons of corpses that have drowned. Though creepy, it's not technically something people are supposed to see. There is another creepy Easter egg that takes place early on in the game. For this, you probably want to be on the Alliance side and create a human. Play through the initial stages if you want, but the goal here is to get to Goldshire. Once you're there, become a wisp. Go to sleep. Because technically this event starts at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I say technically because I think the rules for this event have changed a little bit. In the northeastern section of Goldshire, you'll find this house that has leatherworking trainers inside. If you go to the second floor and go inside the room, you'll find that all your music cuts out and starts playing this ominous tone. This room becomes important later on. The reason you have to wake up at 7 a.m. is because a special event will trigger and 6 children will spawn. Well, at least they're supposed to. I actually looked around for an hour and couldn't find them. Go back to sleep. Come back. Die a little inside because they're still not there. Cry! Okay, so technically I think a few things have changed. What's supposed to happen is these children will walk from location to location. It all seems pretty harmless until you realize... Okay, so technically I think a few things have changed. What's supposed to happen is these children will walk from location to location. It all seems pretty harmless until you realize they're in a pentagram-like shape. You also might occasionally hear weird things when you follow them. And this all culminates back at the room where it seems like they're doing some sort of ceremony. And that's when you can start hearing some really creepy things.
Your friends will abandon you. You will die.
I did eventually see the children for myself, but I think it's broken because they didn't move at all. So this might go down as one of the creepiest Easter eggs that used to be in WoW. Let's talk Animal Crossing. Generally, it's a pretty laid-back and happy experience. Most of the time, you're just doing a set of chores for your neighbors in order to collect as many things as possible, make money, and make some friends with the sentient animals living in your town. This is my new town, and I named it Buttland. I'm 25. I probably got the worst layout a town could ever get, with the bridges being on the north side and south side, so that means anytime I want to do anything, I have to go all the way around. The game was probably punishing me for being so juvenile. I actually got a few good neighbors in my town. I think my favorite one has to be Oxford. He's kind of a dick. There's always been a lot of Easter eggs in Animal Crossing. My favorite definitely has to be the NES collectibles that you get through the lottery at the Nook store. There's even some that you can't even get legitimately, so you have to use a cheat device. Everything in this game just seems so happy. But there is one Easter egg in this game is actually pretty freaky. And I'm not even talking about the fact that I got a horse neighbor named Elmer. Yeah. I guess you know where he's gonna end up. Even though that's made of cow stuff. Like milk, has a cow on the... Without spoiling the Easter egg quite yet, here's what you have to do. For this trick to work, you're gonna need another memory card with a second town on it that you can visit. Head over to the train station and board the train to the second town. The game will then dump some traveling data onto the other card. Once you board the train, you need to actually reset your game. Once you come back, you'll be greeted by a villager from your town that has to restore your save data. This is actually the indication that the Easter egg is about to work. And if you've gotten Mr. Resetti like I have here, you've done it wrong. Restore your save data and get into the game. You'll notice something is a bit off. because your face is now actually missing. Not only that, but you've lost all of your belongings in Bells. The implications of this actually go a little bit further, because your face actually resembles a gyroid, and gyroids in themselves are themed after Japanese Hanawa, which are clay figurines that are buried with the dead. And it doesn't take much to speculate now that your character might actually be dead.
Zoom in on my face. What was that?
Back in 2004, Half-Life 2 revolutionized the first-person shooter. Whoa! Physics! Whoa! Physics! Let's play some fetch, dog. Whoopsies. Now, there's a lot of secrets in this game, but most of the time it comes down to hidden areas where you can just find ammo and health. But in my opinion, that's not necessarily very scary. There are, however, some really creepy secrets in this game, and you have to be paying really close attention to even realize they're there. Like, did you know G-Man actually follows you throughout the game? You can only see him in quick little glimpses, but he's there.
And he's looking right at you.
He often comes up in places you wouldn't expect him to be, where there's lots of action going on. He always seems to be just watching you. Oh, crap. Wait, hold on. I gotta... wait. He always seems to be just watching you. Okay, bye. As creepy as that could possibly be, it's very easy to miss. You could just not be paying attention at all and not even know this exists. However, there is an Easter egg in this game that I find creepier than the G-Man just following you around. The thing is, though, you've heard it probably. Well, let me rephrase that. You haven't heard it the right way. During the creepiest section of the game, Ravenholm, there's a priest character who sets up a lot of traps for the zombies. The type of trap you're looking for is a fire trap. So lead a couple zombies to a fire trap and you'll actually get the Easter egg. Like I said, you've probably heard this before, but not in the right way. You actually have to reverse the footage and you'll hear one of the creepiest things. You pick it up. Okay, I'll pick it up. You know what? I'm a rebel though, so even the game agrees I'm defiant. Hey guys, thanks a lot for sticking it out till the end of the video. I really appreciate it. If you like the video and you want to see more videos like these, click that subscribe. Dead after the first disc. So let's take a look at some of the facts. The entire build-up of the first disc culminates in a confrontation with Adia. The plan is to assassinate her for political reasons, but...
Well, can I stay here? Can I stay
Happy Halloween, everyone! Oh, it's not Halloween? It's definitely not Halloween. Oh. Hey everybody and welcome to my next video. This time on creepy theories in video games. Oh, wait, we already did that. Sorry. Anyways, you probably already know what I'm referring to. We're talking about fan theories that explain certain aspects of a game that you probably haven't thought about before, and they just so happen to be creepy. And before we get started, I want to quickly explain two things. First, I'm going to be taking on the role of the believer, trying to convince you of each of these theories. And second... What was the second one? And 2, I'm going to be operating under the assumption that you've played these games before, so there's going to be a lot of spoilers. Not limited to or including the ending of some games. So without any further ado, let's do it. Top 5 creepy theories in video games! Any theory you're most likely going to know about from this list, it's going to be the Squall is dead theory. This theory documents and puts forward a lot of oddities throughout the game that supports the idea that throughout most of Final Fantasy VIII, the main character Squall is actually dead. I mean, there's a lot of weird things that happen throughout Final Fantasy VIII. And I'm not talking about jumbo cactuses that shoot at you. I'm specifically not talking about that. But what I am talking about is the fact that Squall seems to be dead after the first disc. So let's take a look at some of the facts. The entire build-up of the first disc culminates in a confrontation with Edea. The plan is to assassinate her for political reasons, but Squall dinged it up real bad and takes an icicle to the chest. She's all like, what's here? What's a so this is the part where it's theorized that Squall begins to die. He has now taken a fatal blow to the chest, falls over the balcony. We see Rinoa reach out to him, and he begins to die. The absolute last scene of this entire disc is Squall starting to close his eyes. And everything that takes place after this moment is Squall's dying dreams. Or at least, that's the theory. So now we actually have a lot of different things to consider. Like the fact that there's a huge tonal shift between the first disc and the others. The first disc is almost grounded in this more realistic fashion, whereas the second and beyond are more fantastical and unbelievable. Does anyone else remember Nord? No? Because it happened. The surface of the moon is made of monsters. Remember that? Everyone grew up in the same orphanage. That was a thing. Also, let me remind you that this was also a thing that happened. Time travel. Traveling through time. After Squall's supposed death, we wake up in the prison. Squall doesn't really remember what happened, and there's no wound to speak of. This is never explained or ever mentioned again by you or your party members. Furthermore, most of the mysteries of the story are then explained with those fantastical things that I had mentioned before. Even some of the relationship dynamics that Squall had throughout the first disc have changed. For example, Rinoa is actually infatuated with Cypher throughout most of the first disc. In fact, there's a lot more complex relationships going on in the first disc than any other part. But after the encounter with the sorceress, everything changes. Everything becomes so much more straightforward and simplistic in a way. Rinoa now loves Squall even though she's blatantly shown that she has no interest in him. The sorceress Edea is possessed by an all-powerful time-traveling sorceress from the future. And now Cypher is just evil, with no redeeming qualities. Even though him and the party have had their differences, but they still considered him a comrade. And he's even gone as far as to attempt to help the mission and save Rinoa. But now all of these things are black and white. There's much more to this theory, but the most important part that we have to talk about is the end of the game. After we've traveled through time to face Ultimecia and reach the final stage of the battle, she begins to utter this phrase, which some people have interpreted as Squall coming to terms with the end of his life. She begins to say these words: reflect on your childhood, your sensation, your words, your emotions. Time. It will not wait, no matter how hard you hold on. It escapes you. Once we defeat her, we're presented with the end of the game. At first, what's seen could be interpreted to lose hope and sits down, attempting to remember the things that matter to him most. Or is what we are seeing his desperate attempt to cling to life? What we see can't really be explained. It's one of the trippiest endings to a Final Fantasy game ever created. What we can glimpse, however, are certain key things. Like the fact that Squall seems to finally remember the events at the end of Disc 1. guess the question is what we're seeing actually just Squall's life flashing before his eyes?
What's that?
What's that?
Okay, so Mass Effect has to be one of the greatest sci-fi series of games ever made. This series easily makes my top 10 favorite games of all time list. And a lot of that, besides the great gameplay, has to do with the fact that you can make decisions that affect the rest of the game. Well, that and custom characters. I'm Commander Shepard, and I see everything. Just the sheer amount of things that are altered by your decisions throughout the game is mind-boggling and crazy. Well, that is until, you got to the end. And then it got dumb. I mean, when I saw that ending for the first time, I was fuming. You couldn't stop me from going to the internet and posting a stupid video that's still up there today that was about the ending of this game. I mean, I was basically like... And then I was like... And then I died. But all that aside, it's about the journey, right? I mean, not the destination. I mean, you know that famous quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Life is a journey, not a destination. So, basically what I just said. Okay, let's not get hung up on that, but we do have to talk about the ending because it's really important to this theory. So let me set the mood. It's 2012 and everyone's freaking pissed off that the ending is not everything they wanted it to be. So everyone starts digging a little bit deeper, searching for hidden meaning because everything as it is just doesn't sit right. There has to be more. There has to be a reason they did this, right? This is when some of the more unique theories about the game's ending started to come to fruition. Which one of the most viable and subsequently creepy theories happens to be indoctrination theory. This theory postulates that Shepard has very slowly been indoctrinated over the course of the 3 games in the trilogy. That because of this, he no longer has full control over his mind, and in turn proposes that near the end of the series, your decisions might be clouded and veiled under this supposed mind control. And that therefore you, the player, by extension, have also been affected. Jeez, man, that's a lot of stuff to prove in such a short amount of time, but I'm gonna do my best. Let's just hit some of the more important points for now. First, what is indoctrination? According to the Mass Effect 2 Codex entry, Reaper indoctrination is an insidious means of corrupting organic minds. Essentially, your mind is reprogrammed through nefarious means. People who are being indoctrinated may complain of headaches and buzzing or ringing in their ears.
You hear that hum? Is that just me?
They can also start getting paranoid, thinking that they are being watched, and even have hallucinations of ghostly presences. The end result of indoctrination is full control of the host. Your mind is no longer your own.
Visions cannot be denied. The Reapers are too powerful. The only hope of survival is to join with them.
It's also a key point that if rapid indoctrination is used, it can burn out the host almost completely in a matter of days or weeks. The slow indoctrination process can allow the host to live for months or even years. So I mean, it makes sense that the Reapers would want to control Shepard because he's a pretty prominent figure in the galaxy. Okay, so if all of this is true, when did it start? Well, arguably right here in the very first mission of the game when you didn't even know what was going on. For a split second, we see Sovereign, the main antagonist of the first game.
Off in the distance. It's a ship. Look at the size of it.
But it's still first contact. And this is an important distinction because of the way indoctrination works. Again from the Codex entry, quote, reprogramming the brain through physical and psychological conditioning using electromagnetic fields, infrasonic and ultrasonic noise, and other subliminal methods. So essentially this is the type of thing that could happen to you and you wouldn't even know it was going on.
Yes, believe me, here would be bad. Very bad. It's too small and that noise just already. Whispering is loud, you know? I need to get...
During our adventures throughout the first game, we come to realize the power of this mind control. We actually interact with Sovereign on his Virmire base, and we learn that there are other indoctrinated people as well. This character here can be let go multiple times throughout the series, and in the final game it is actually said through Codex entries that she was indoctrinated and eventually went crazy and killed people. That all
If going to have a good weekend with your mom?
Mhm.
Yeah. Not a busy weekend. Going to the beach? I'm sorry.